3, 2, 1. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Monroe Mann back again in the rocking chair. So some really cool news before we get started on these European travel stories, some of them. First, because I had to cut the last one short because some maintenance guy came over or something. Or my Chinese class was starting. I'm not really sure. But before we get to that, because I want to finish the story that I was telling before. Hi, Yasmin. And I want to tell some other European travel stories because we've got a lot of discussion about Paris now and Europe because of the Olympics. Just some great news is, we hit 2,280 watch hours this morning, which means we have less than 750 watch hours to go, and the channel will be monetized, fingers crossed. And secondly, I found a cool way to turn my YouTube live streams into recordings that get added to an RSS feed that get uploaded to this third-party site, and then we just got accepted to Spotify, got accepted to iHeartMusic, got accepted to Podstream, so a whole bunch of these other distribution channels. I submitted to Apple Music. I'm waiting to hear on that, and Apple Podcasts. And anyway, it's pretty exciting because I think there are going to be some very interesting ways that I can find new users and new listeners as this thing continues to grow. And I'm just super excited because I can keep it all I have to do is the YouTube live streams. And then, whoomp, I've got it all set up so it automatically gets distributed everywhere else, which is really exciting because the one thing I really did not love about doing the YouTubing over the years is the editing takes forever. Not only that, but shooting the different angles, then you have to do the editing, and then you got to upload. Now it's just all one beautiful system. So I'm going to go back and start and tell you the same story that I was telling you that I didn't get to finish on the last time I did these European travel stories. So I went to my last 2 years of college. I was in Lugano, Switzerland. It used to be called Franklin College, and now it's called Franklin University. And it's in Lugano, Switzerland. It's a half Swiss university, half American university. So if you graduate from there now, you get 2 degrees. You get a European degree and a American degree. When I graduated, I just got the American degree. That's okay. An American degree is still worthwhile. And I got a motor scooter because that's what you do when you're living in Europe. If you don't have a scooter like a Vespa, or in my case, a Malaguti, then you're not really living the European life. So I got a scooter. And the thing about Lugano is it's a tropical, semi-tropical type of area. There are actual palm trees in Lugano, Switzerland. And it's surrounded by mountains, but you are in the valley, in the lake region. And so, this is the hard thing about doing YouTube live, is that you got these people. Sometimes having the comments is great. Sometimes having the comments is not so great because some strange people like to speak up. So I had to go to a different city in another valley in Switzerland in order to do some type of registration for my scooter, which I had to do. And I think I bought the scooter it was around September. So it was still rather warm in Lugano, near the Lake Lugano. And so I'm in my shorts and t-shirt on the scooter, and I decided, all right, I'm gonna go to this other town. Think about this, guys. Switzerland, land of mountains, and I'm in the valley, and I have to go to the other valley. I'm not gonna tell you where I'm going, but I think you gotta know where I'm going. So I start riding this scooter, and I'm going up one of the mountains to go over the pass in order to get to the other city. And literally every minute, it's getting colder and colder and colder. I then start to see a little bit of ice on the ground. Then I start to see snow on the ground. I am freezing. It starts to snow. It went from 75 degrees down in the Lake Lugano basin. I'm going up this mountain on this scooter in shorts and t-shirt because it was so warm down there. And I am freezing. And everybody driving past me is laughing at me hysterically because they see this poor, dopey American guy in his shorts and t-shirt on his scooter in snow in Switzerland. And I couldn't wait. I was so happy when I got to the top of the mountain and I started to go downhill again to go to the next town in the next valley. And it slowly started to get warmer and warmer and warmer and warmer. And woo, I finally warmed up. When I got to the DMV, I asked after I finished everything, is there a clothing store around here? Because I went to the clothing store, I bought a pair of pants, I bought gloves, I bought a hat, I bought a jacket, and I wore that thing all the way back. Of course, I took it off when I started to get down back to Lugano, and I put it in the seat. But I remember to this day, one of the funniest stories of me living in Switzerland is this adventure with the scooter. Let me look at the comments and we'll go back to some more European stories. What's that? Bro thinks he's all that. Yeah, I am all that. I'm all that and more, my friend. Let's see, if Napoleon could cross the Alps, then you can do it too. That's right, Rabbit Gamer, and I did. I went up that mountain. I came, I saw, I conquered. I was freezing on the way there, but I made it happen and it was fantastic. And JM says, you're surprised that altitude in the Alps affects temperature. I'm not surprised that it affects temperature, my friend. It's that sometimes you don't think of things when you do them. And another experience of that was also when I was in Switzerland. It's so easy for people in the comments to criticize people. You don't realize something in retrospect. It's very easy to realize, oh yeah, you're going to, if you go up really, really high, temperature's gonna drop. I didn't think I was going that high. And anybody in Switzerland has gone through something similar. You sometimes get into a mountain, you're like, wow, when is this mountain ever going to stop? And that's what happened. When I went to Gstaad, that's another mountain in Switzerland. And again, didn't realize this at the time. By the way, keep in mind, I was 19 years old. So I think any 19-year-old can be forgiven for making mistakes. And the truth is, a 50-year-old, 60-year-old, a 70-year-old can also be forgiven for making mistakes over the years. I went up to the top of Gstaad with my grandma. And I found this hill up there, and I decided I was going to go down it just because I wanted to do a little bit of a hike, because we actually took this funicular up the actual mountain. So I didn't get to actually hike any Swiss mountain. And this was about the second week I was in Switzerland. And so I got down there and I went down about 5 minutes. I was kind of walking down this mountain. And all of a sudden my grandma's calling me going, Monroe, we gotta go, whatever's leaving, the bus or the tour. So I start running back up this hill. And this is Gstaad, which is extremely high above sea level. Literally after 10 steps, and this was when I was 19 years old, I'm in really good shape now. At 19, I was a powerhouse. And literally after 10 seconds of running, I nearly collapsed on the side of the mountain. Because again, I didn't realize, oh my gosh, the air is so thin up there that you have no oxygen. And you live and learn. Amazing lesson that you learn over there. But if you don't live in the Swiss Alps and you don't live in such mountain environments, then guess what? Yeah, you're gonna have these wake-up calls that you don't realize. Let me see some of the other messages here. And let's see. From Poland across, you're surprised. All right, Jesse just says he fell from skateboarding. So that's also from a high level. And thanks for listening to my song, Jesse. Hey, Jam, it is an offense because all you're doing is offending me. Every single comment you give me here. This guy, Jam, keeps offending me, and then he starts his next comment with no offense. He says, no offense, but these stories are not relatable. It seems more like a humble brag that you went to Switzerland. Dude, that's what the title of this live stream is. European travel stories. If you haven't been to Europe, it's not my problem. Get off your butt, go get a passport, buy a ticket, and go to Europe. It's not that hard. You can buy tickets to Europe for $600-700 round trip. Go stay in a hostel like I usually do, spends $20 a night. Guess what? You can do a whole European trip for like less than $800. So it is a humble brag. I'm really proud that I went to Switzerland. I'm really proud that I got to go to college in Switzerland. I deal with this type of criticism all the time. People go, "Oh, you're so lucky that you went to college in Switzerland. Wow, that's I wish I had." I go, "Did you apply to a college in Switzerland?" They go, "No." I said, "Then stop talking about it." Congratulations. I'm glad you went to Ireland. I'm glad you have $800,000. That's this guy's talking to me about humble bragging, and this guy JM is now bragging about all the places he went to. Good. I'm glad that you got to go to those places. I'm so proud of your Roth IRA. This is not a live stream today about finance, and yet you decided you need to rub that in everybody's faces, and it's probably not true. Anyway. Reason why I decided to do this live stream today about some more European travel stories, I had to cut it off last time. And I had a bunch of people who downloaded the episode of my European travel stories and from the podcast. And I wanted to make sure that they got the end of the stories because I didn't do that. So I also wanted to talk about this because everyone's searching on the internet for Paris now and for the Olympics. And so the idea of going overseas is on people's mind. The idea of doing travel, of going to Europe is there. And I just want to inspire anyone else here to go buy a ticket and go travel. And my mission over, I don't know if it's this year, but it'll certainly be next year, is to go to both Europe again and go to China again. And for me, going on a travel journey is so much fun. And it's such great excitement. And it always makes me feel like I'm free. I think nothing can help you feel like you have more freedom than going on a trip somewhere. Now, it's funny. If you go on a cruise, like a Caribbean cruise, for some reason, you don't feel the same freedom that you do when you go on just a free trip to a city, or you go into Europe, or you go to Asia, or you go across the country, whatever, because you're stuck on a cruise ship. It's different on a train because you don't really live on a train. You get on a train for a little bit, you get off, and then you go stay somewhere for a while, you get back on the train. The train literally is just a form of transportation. But when you're on a cruise ship, you kind of have a feeling of being stuck. But not true when you go to Europe. When you go to Europe, or you go to South America, or you go anywhere, and you go live in that city for a little while, it takes you to a different world. You know, I think the other reason why a cruise doesn't really feel like freedom and like you're going on a real big adventure, because you're still, like if you go on a cruise ship in the United States, you're still on a cruise ship with basically Americans. You still feel like you're in the United States on the cruise ship. Maybe if you go on a cruise ship in Europe, maybe it'll have a different feeling. I'm not really sure. Robert Gamer's talking about Sicily. And he says, I hope when I enlist, I can go to Italy. I'm Italian and I want to learn about my ancestry from the island of Sicily. Yeah, that sounds no, you spelled it right. Sicily's right. And I absolutely. And Robert Gamer, start planning that trip now. I know you're younger. Talk to your parents and just try to figure out, hey, what can we do to plan a trip to Sicily? Sometimes parents need their kids to inspire them. It's not always the parents are inspiring the kids. Sometimes you need to be, sometimes the children need to be the adults. Sometimes the children need to be the adults in a family and help the parents to make the decisions that they need to do. And for them, sometimes that might be planning a trip to Europe. So I used to live in Switzerland, as I mentioned, and so I've been to most places in Italy. Most major places. I have not been to Sicily. And that's one of the places that's on the list. Because I meet people here in Miami Beach all the time from Sicily, and all of them are just telling me how absolutely gorgeous it is. And another one of my my European travel stories, I was with my class group doing this tour of Rome and southern Italy. And so we got on the train going north towards Pisa. And I told, my teacher said, hey, we want everyone to stay in the same car. Don't leave this car. And for some reason, I decided, I said, Professor, please, I gotta go to this other car because I want it. I don't know why. Maybe just me being the rebel that I am. And he said, just make sure you get off at Pisa. And I said, okay, no problem. I'll get off at Pisa. And that was in about 2 hours. And we were gonna get off at Pisa around 7 p.m. that night. So around 5 p.m., I'm go up to this other car. Maybe I was talking to some other people, I don't know, making some friends. And I end up realizing how tired I am. So I decided I'm gonna take a 10-minute nap. I wake up at 1 a.m. and I have no idea where the heck I am in Europe. It's 1 a.m. and oh my gosh, I just wake up and it's at a station and I just get off. I have no idea. Even this day, I don't remember where the heck I was. All I know is that I went to the other side of the tracks and I waited there until like 4:30 in the morning. And I got on the track and there was nobody there the whole time. And I just waited on the track. The train finally came and I said, please tell me this goes to Pisa. And they said, yeah. And I said, where am I? Again, I don't remember where but all it came down to is it's 6 hours back to Pisa. Oh my gosh. And they were so worried about me. And they talked about they called the police. And they were talking to the tour guides in Pisa. And then I showed up and my teacher's going, Monroe, where were you? Monroe. Well, I went on my own Italian adventure story. And Robert Gamer says, I wonder if there's a museum about Operation Husky, the Allied invasion of Sicily. I'm sure there's got to be some type of historical, or at least somebody who knows about that. MLR 13 says, in your opinion, is living in Europe better than living in the US? Yes and no, MLR. So first, the things that I love about Europe, that I love about the United States more, and that makes the Europe better than living in the US. There's not as big a discussion about politics. It's not as pervasive, at least in my opinion, and that might be because I'm an expat when I'm there. But again, I've lived in France, I've lived in Switzerland, and I've been all around Europe. And generally, all throughout Europe, I get the same feeling that it's just not. The United States has this political complex. It's like this industrial machine, and everybody's a part of it. And in Europe, I don't think it's as relevant. And maybe it's because the United States is a far more important nation or political entity than is Europe. Even if you put the whole of Europe together as the EU and the EMU, a European Monetary Union, they still have separate militaries. They still bicker with one another. So they're never going to be as big of a unified voice on the world stage as the United States is. But as a result, that's a benefit for people who live there as expats, because you don't have to deal with all that baloney. You can just live and enjoy life. It's very similar in China. Again, I don't necessarily agree with their system where you can't vote. But because you can't vote, when I lived there, no one talks politics. Nobody talks about it at all, because why? What's the point? Again, that's a negative too. But I'm talking about the positives of living in Europe. They say it's the finer life. Like you do live a better life, I think, in Europe. Whenever I'm living in Europe, whenever I'm vacationing in Europe, I'm happier. In fact, whenever I'm outside of the United States in general, I tend to be happier. I'm proud to be an American, but the stress in the United States is not fun. And I think the focus on wealth here is not fun. I don't think Europeans focus on money as much. They don't focus on achievement as much. Again, you can say that's a negative too, but if we're talking about quality of life, MLR, you just sense that and you get a feeling that people are actually living life. They're enjoying what they do in Europe. In the United States, you're focused only on how many likes do I have? How much money do I have? Am I making more money than my neighbor? How do I increase my income? I need to have, my job is my number one focus. I think that's a big difference. In the United States, the number one focus is your job. And in Asia, maybe even in South America too, I imagine, focus is really the family first. I feel family is far more important outside the United States. The United States has become very independent minded as a society, and that's great. It allows us to accomplish so many great things. People come to America because leaving a voicemail. Whenever someone leaves a voicemail, it cuts off the live streams. I wish YouTube would figure that out because it's not cool. America is what it is because we have this maverick, break the rules, be independent, focus on your career and make things happen. That's why everyone comes to the US to make their dreams come true. But it comes at a price. So those are the benefits of living in Europe. Also, your money goes a lot farther. If you can, let's say you get a Social Security retirement income and wherever else of about $3,000 a month, even $2,500 a month. If you've got $2,500 a month, yeah, Ferrari, you can ask me any questions. I'll answer that one in a second. If you have $2,000 a month in retirement income from Social Security, from the military, from your business, whatever, or passive income from doing something like streaming or your business or selling things or stocks, you can live pretty well in most countries in Europe. Certainly in Spain and in Portugal. I mean, you go to Portugal, $2,000 a month, you're kind of living like a prince over there. And if you could up that to $4,000 a month, American dollars every month, you're living very, very well. And especially so if you go to some of those Eastern European countries, such as Poland, which are very first world now. They've got a lot of amenities. I visited Poland back in 1998, and it was pretty developed. And now, 20 plus years later, it's even more impressive. So, I mean, I think I'd like to retire in Europe, or I eventually want to buy a second home there and be making enough passive income that I can support 2 residences without a problem. Because that would be so cool, just get on a plane and go out and chill there for a couple of months, then come back to the US. My ultimate dream, and maybe this will inspire some of you guys, is I want to be able to live 4 months in the US, 4 months in Europe, and 4 months in China. If I could go every 4 months, I rotate, and I live 4 months in the US, 4 months in Europe, 4 months in China, or 4 months in Asia. Oh man, that would be so cool. Now, the cons of living in Europe, because I'm answering MLR's question about is living in Europe better than living in the US? The cons of living in Europe, you cannot find pretty much anything open past 6 p.m. Everything, even this was the case when I went to college there in 1997 to 99. I was back in Europe 2 years ago. Everything closes down early. There are some 24-hour places now, but that's the exception, not the rule. And there was a McDonald's that was open late night in Paris that I went to. Last time I was there in 2022. And the line was so long. Why? It was like 11 p.m. or 12 a.m. It was the only place for miles that was open to get something to eat. Whereas you're not going to have that in the United States. You can go at 3 a.m. and you can go find multiple places to go eat. Same thing with shopping. You can't go find places to go shop late at night. What else in Europe? I miss the entrepreneurial mindset of the Americans. Especially even in Florida, I miss the go-get-em attitude of my fellow New Yorkers. I've been in Florida now for 3 years, and literally it is a different mentality down here. You do not have the ambition of, I want to go change the world. I want to make something happen, like on a big scale. Miami Beach in Florida, especially Miami Beach, Miami, it's a very leech mentality of how much money do you have and how much can you give to me? Very, very sickening. And a lot of it attracts that type of person. New York attracts an entrepreneurial dreamer. Miami Beach often seems to attract a different type of person. It seems to be changing now that more New Yorkers are coming down here. But Europe, I think, is still, it doesn't have that entrepreneurial zest. And in some ways, it takes a little bit of time to get used to that culture, because they're more in line with, I want the government to take care of me, and I want a good, steady job. That's it. You see every 3 months, SNCF, which is the rail system, basically the Amtrak of France, they're going on strike. Anytime they want to raise the retirement age, people start rioting in the streets all throughout Paris. I'm thinking, seriously, this is who you are when you don't get what you want. You just start rioting. Granted, we have riots in the United States too, so I'm not going to say we're perfect. But I feel like people in France riot over things that should, like, we riot over very incendiary things. In France, they look for opportunities to riot. And like, all right, guys, what are we going to riot at today? Let's look at the news. Okay, they're going to raise the price of the train ticket from €2 to €2.25. You know what? Let's do it. Let's start rioting in the streets over those 20. It's like there are so many better solutions. So that's what you have to deal when you are in Europe. Also, just anywhere you go, you're going to be homesick to some way, shape, or form. The first time I was in Europe, I got so homesick. It was horrible. I was 19. I was calling home all the time from the payphones that don't exist anymore. But, when I lived in China for the first time in 2014, I kind of just embraced the culture and I embraced the country, and it was completely fine. I was excited to come home, but I wasn't homesick like I once did. So I would say if you go live there, do it in spurts. Go there for 3 months first, then come home, then maybe go back for a year, come home, then maybe decide, do I want to actually pick up and move to live in Europe? So Ferrari's question is, can I ask you, what did you start YouTube? I don't know what that means. Is it what year did you start YouTube, or why did you start YouTube? But that sentence doesn't make sense. Tanya, great to have you here. Thank you. Appreciate you joining this live stream, talking about some of my stories in Europe, my travel stories. Why? Originally, I started it because I got back from Iraq in 2015. And YouTube 2005. So I got back from Iraq in 2005. I had 100 hours more of footage that I took while I was in Iraq. And I wanted a place to maybe put this documentary that I was working on at the time. And so I started a YouTube channel. So I think some of the very first videos, I could be wrong, but I think some of the very first videos are of me in Iraq. And you'll find, like, the one that I posted as a community post a while ago, maybe a month ago, was from 18 years ago. So I did it originally as that. And this was either right before or right around when Google bought YouTube. Because most people don't know that Google didn't start YouTube. Google bought it from these other entrepreneurs. And the original YouTube was a dating app. It was a video app to show off who you were. YouTube. And it's like saying, hi, my name is Monroe, I'm single, and I'm looking, and all that. But that concept quickly morphed to change, and it ended up becoming a video sharing site for everyone. Then Google bought it. So I didn't have any plans really to use it to be a YouTuber. Being a YouTuber didn't even exist back then. Over time, I just started adding videos, music videos, some short films and things like that, because I was doing music and film on a large scale. in 2007, 2008. I started going to law school. I went to film school. I started putting the films that I was making on YouTube. And I don't know, I started doing some travel videos here and there. And then when YouTubing started to become a thing, I started to think, what could I do? What videos could I do that will actually get people interested in watching and subscribing? And so I thought doing travel videos would do it. I thought posting my music videos. I thought doing some comedy. And I did videos like this. Thanks, Ferrari. I appreciate that. I respect you as well for respecting me. I thought that that's how you did YouTube. And I would look every year how much watch time I was getting on the road to 4,000 to get monetized. And every year it would fluctuate between 50 hours, 105, 97. It was really disheartening because I'm thinking, nobody likes what I'm doing. No one, and I thought it was me. And it was very easy to lose faith in myself. And then even today, like look at my video when we're done with this live stream. I think the 4th or 5th video that's public is my last trip to Lugano, Switzerland. And what? It's got about 1,000 views. It's like, I thought like a video like that, I thought like 50,000 people, all these people who go to Lugano would want to go watch it. But it didn't. And so I kind of gave up on being a YouTuber, a paid YouTuber, because people weren't even watching my travel videos. And I thought my travel videos were pretty good. People weren't watching my skydiving videos. So it just became a hobby over the last 5 years. And I never had any expectation that I would jump on this horse again to try to become a paid YouTuber. Until I did thank you, Mr. Assassin. I did a TEDx talk at NYU in April. And then I got booked to do another TEDx talk in Philadelphia this summer, in August. And I was talking to one of the hosts, one of the organizers, and she said, "You speak so well, I could listen to you all day. You should do a podcast." And I was like, oh, I don't want to do a podcast. But it was germinating in my head. And one day this was about 2 months ago, I just ended up seeing, it says live. And I thought, I think I did a live stream before. You know what, let me try it again and let me just see. I think I tried it once or twice, but there was nobody watching at all. And like right now, it says there are 0 people watching, even though I see 2 people here talking to me in the live chat. So don't ever let the numbers, they say numbers don't lie, but numbers do lie. Now it says there are 2 people here watching. I just turned on YouTube Live and boom, 2 months later, a month and a half later, here I am. And now my watch time is at 2,283. I'll hit 3,000, which is the first phase of monetization by the middle of August, I think. So I think by middle of September, there'll be super chat in here. I'll have the store set up and memberships in my channel. So we'll see if that leads to and how can I tie this back into European travel stories? If this can get monetized, imagine if I told you, if I can make $2,500 a month by doing YouTube live streaming and doing podcasting, guess what? I don't need to have an apartment anymore. I can just live around the world. I could live 3 months in Paris. I could move down to Florence. I could go to China. I could come home to the United States for 2 months, just keep going around. And wherever I go, I just get an internet connection and do the YouTube live streaming. Again, that's a big if, as long as you got an internet connection. That's a big assumption. I might have to connect to Elon Musk's Starlink and carry that around with me. But that's ultimately what I would love to do. I love public speaking. I love inspiring people. I love entertaining people. And I love travel. If I could combine all of those 4 things by being this digital nomad, pretty awesome. And thanks, Mr. Assassin. And for an assassin, you look pretty wholesome too. Ferrari says, don't give up. You know what they say, never back down, never give up. That's right. Mr. Assassin says, what was the topic? I don't know what you're referring to. Can you let me know what you're talking about? For those of you just joining, I'm just talking about in general some of my stories living in Europe. I've been to Portugal twice or three times. Twice to Madeira, which is an island off the coast. And also I've been to the Algarve, which is in the south of Portugal. I don't know if I've spent any time in Lisbon itself. I know I've been to Lisbon, I think, because that's where the flight went in and out of. But I don't know. But I know I would honestly love to live in Portugal. The cost of living is super low. The language, the Portuguese language, I think is really, really beautiful. Yeah, Tina is saying that Portugal is beautiful. Every time I've gone to Portugal, it's been a beautiful experience, a beautiful place. Mr. Assassin, the TED Talk. So the first TED Talk, it was called 8 Simple Words to Change Your Life. And it's about my philosophy of break diving. So don't wait for opportunities to float to the surface. Dive in and find your own big breaks in life. And it talks about the Break Diver's Creed, which is on my arm, this tattoo. No rules, no excuses, and up on my shoulder, no regrets. Very inspiring. Just search for Monroe Mann, TEDx, TEDx. The one I'm going to be talking about at Jefferson University on August 31st is called You Are the CEO of Me, Inc. And it's about inspiring you to look at your life as an international corporation and make sure you are running it smoothly and effectively. Hey, Tina, your family's from Portugal. Where is your family from? That's fascinating. But you're in Tucson, Arizona. Were you born in Portugal, or are you an American-born first generation here? Very curious to know about that. Have any of you guys been to Europe? So I know that I'm sure Tina's been to Portugal. Have any of you guys been to any country in Europe? And Europe is huge now. Europe in many ways includes part of Turkey. It includes maybe part of Russia. Certainly includes, Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania are technically part of Eastern Europe. Certainly above them on the Baltic Sea, you've got Sweden, Denmark, Norway, and Finland. Dr. Ketchup is asking if I love. Yes, I love you, Dr. Ketchup. I love how the person changed it. I think Mr. Assassin is the same person as Dr. Ketchup. I could be wrong, unless Mr. Assassin and Dr. Ketchup can write a message at the same time here. Ferrari's from Albania. Now that's another European country. It's a very interesting one because it's got 2 different religions in different parts of the country. One part of the country is really Muslim, and one country, part of the country is Christian. And one part of the country is on the coast of the Mediterranean. The other part of the country is more inland. So very fascinating place. Have not been there, but certainly I've been around there. I've been to Croatia and Slovenia and some other places there. Family is, Albania. Well, you could say that Italy has no protection either. Italy is open on 4 sides by the ocean. So very unprotected, except that the ocean itself is a wonderful barrier. So, Albania does have a coast too. So I don't think Albania is that bad. Why do you say that, Ferrari? Tina's family's from Lisbon. You were born here. Very nice. Well, muito prazer, which I think means nice to meet you. Dr. Ketchup says, thanks. Tina loves the Nordic area. Nope. Interesting. We've got Dr. Ketchup and a Mr. Assassin. Very interesting. I'm hoping that Mr. Assassin will not kill Dr. Ketchup. I'm also hoping Dr. Ketchup will not cause a problem with Mr. Assassin. What's up, Jer? The character we're doing this time is just Monroe Mann. Many people say that he is a character as well. So I won't lie. It's generally just me being myself, talking about my life and my perspective on things. So right now I'm sharing some of my experiences living in Europe and traveling in Europe. And one thing I love about Europe more than the United States, their train system. Now, of course, Europe is much, much smaller than the United States. But nonetheless, you could go from London to Croatia, to Zagreb, Croatia, all through their high-speed, awesome train systems. And some of the trains are not high speed, but in general, you can still get to one city to another, and it doesn't cost an arm and a leg. They just have this new high-speed train that goes from Miami to Orlando. My gosh, it's like $100 one way. So it's basically the cost of an air ticket. Whereas that same distance in Europe would cost you maybe 25 euros or 25 pounds. And I love that about Europe, that you can really get around without a car. And I think it's fantastic. I love trains. I don't know if any of you do. If you love trains, living in Europe is where to go, or vacationing in Europe is where to go. I once got a Eurorail pass. I flew into Oslo, Norway, and I went all through the Nordics. I went down through Germany. I went through Poland. I went out through the Eastern Europe, came back around through Croatia and Slovenia, ended up in Venice during Carnivale, and then came down to Rome. And then from Rome, that's when I flew to China to start teaching English there. Dr. Ketchup has the healing powers, though. Ketchup, that's right. Are you talking about the healing power of ketchup or the healing power of a doctor? Maybe he has double healing powers. Tina likes their view on work and life balance. Yeah, Tina, I was talking about that earlier because someone asked about what are the benefits of living in Europe rather than the US. One benefit is, yes, Europe has a better work-life balance. I like that you get a lot of vacation time. I don't appreciate how Americans say Europeans are lazy. I think they're smart. I always say, if I ever get one of my companies to be so successful that I can hire massive staff, guess what? I mean, they're going to have to take 6 weeks of paid vacation every year. And they need to, part of that, they need to go for a week overseas. Like, you want to work here, you got to get on a plane and go see Europe, or go see Africa, or go see Iceland. Because I feel Europeans get to travel a heck of a lot more than most Americans, because Americans get to work all the time. On the other hand, Americans, on whole, are more successful than Europeans. I don't think there's much dispute there. Americans have a much bigger entrepreneurial mentality than Europeans. Europeans want a good, steady job, and they want the government to take care of them for the rest of their lives. Americans, in general, want to make a big success out of themselves and become and change the world. Europeans don't seem to have the I want to change the world mentality. And Mr. Assat, let's see where we got more comments here. Transportation is on point. Yeah, I love European transportation. So good. And JR says, true, but when you start getting an entire cart of groceries, you'll start loving cars. Europeans have cars. Every time I was there, I mean, when you go to the supermarket, you use an Uber, or you drive your car. They drive their car to the supermarket. But like, it's nice to have a little car to get around, or a scooter. But it's annoying to have to get in your car to drive 3, 4, 6, 8 hours. In the United States, like, if I want to right now if I want to go to Tampa, Florida from Miami, I've got two choices. I can drive 6 hours, or I can go get on a plane, which is going to also take me 6 hours. You got to get to the airport an hour and a half ahead of time. You got to go through security, and it's just exhausting. And everybody knows this who's done plane and train travel. You go on a plane for 3 hours, you're exhausted. You go on a train for 6 hours, you arrive refreshed. And I wish more governments would focus on train transportation in the United States, because it would make everyone's lives a lot less stressful and a lot easier. And Ferrari says, one day I'm going to start a YouTube channel. So I need to create a video. I want to get famous. When I do that, I'm going to set out to you. Ferrari, if you already have the YouTube channel, can I just tell you this? Just make a stupid short about whatever. The easiest one is do one where you're talking, like I'm doing right now, for 15 seconds. Post it, and who cares if you get 0 views? As soon as you post that first video, you're a YouTuber. If you don't want to show yourself, you can use your voice and do something like this. Here are my favorite books. Biology Made Easy, The Oxford Book of Friendship, The Decline and Fall of the Roman Empire. What do you think? And you don't even have to show your face. So get off your butt, get over your fear, and make that first video. Because that's right, one day could mean 3, 5, 10, 15 years from now. And the truth is, you could die tomorrow. Why would you? People ask me, Monroe, why are you spending so much time this summer YouTube living? Why? Because I know I could die any day. I learned that in Iraq. I learned that skydiving a month ago when my parachute had a problem, and I had to get rid of it and use my reserve, which was quite scary. But I mean, these kind of things remind me, you may not have till tomorrow. So I'm doing this live stream here. It says there's one person watching. I have no idea. Sometimes I get 50, sometimes I get 20. Today, apparently I got one person still watching this live stream, according to YouTube. Why don't I stop live streaming? Because that one person, I care about you, and you're giving me the watch time that is going to help me get every minute. Even one person watches is one more minute of watch time. So maybe this is not going to be one of my most successful live streams, but I'll at least get probably 2 or 3 hours of watch time. And guess what? That adds up. Love and Light says, dependent on what you consider success. I'm not sure what you're talking about, Love and Light, what you're referring to. So let me know what I said that prompted you to say that. Jar says, facts, Americans need that mindset because a normal job does not make it. I would agree the American dream ended 2008. I agree that general American dream is gone, especially with interest rates. To get a mortgage at like 8%, literally it costs less money for me to pay my apartment rent than it does to purchase a mortgage. It's just bonkers. And buying a home that was basically the American dream, which was you can make anything that you want happen in life, happen in the United States. And I generally still think that is true. The bigger picture of the American dream is still here. I mean, guess what? I mean, it's because, think of all of the live stream platforms on which people can become paid influencers. They're all pretty much American. And even if there are country-specific ones, such as, I know China has WeChat, and TikTok is essentially the copy of the original Chinese one in China. But where did it all come from? The United States. It's this American dream mentality that's created all these amazing things in the world that are the result of people thinking big and dreaming big. It's harder, I think, to make that American dream come true these days. 100%, Jerry. But I don't want people to think that they cannot make their dream come true. I still think for most things in life, you could probably do it more easily in the United States. For now. Let's see what happens in the next 10 years. I'm not quite sure. And let's see. By the way, do you know we call our country Separi instead of Albania? Kind of weird, but that's what we call it. That's interesting, Ferrari. I don't even know if anyone's here now. All these people in the live chat, I'm trying to catch up. It says there are 0 people watching right now. YouTube live is very fickle. Gaurav, Polania, what's this live stream about? I'm generally talking about a topic about travel and European travel stories of mine, but I'm also getting guided by the people in the live chat. BB2 says, I learn new things about myself as a European here. Do I want a steady job? Yes, everyone does. Do I expect and want the government to take care of me? No. Paid vacation for 26 days a year is a given. Are you talking about Europe, or are you talking about America, BB? Because 26 days a year vacation in the United States, that's still pretty hard to get. Most people get 14 days paid vacation. And yeah, and Tina, the American government's priorities is not lowering stress among the populace. I don't think it should be government's responsibility. I just think companies need to realize I'm reading a book now that's talking about interrogation. And I was an intelligence officer in Iraq, and I had to talk to some enemy prisoners here and there. You don't get the best compliance by torturing people. Because if you torture people to the point of insanity, they're just going to either say whatever you want them to say, B, they're going to make things up, or D, they're just going to give false information, which is, again, like making things up. And I kind of feel like the same thing. Companies think that by forcing their employees to work, they're getting the best out of them. No. You will get more productivity out of an employee by requiring very intense work over short periods of time. Meaning, you will get more productivity out of somebody working a very intense 5-hour shift, very focused, deep work, than you will get out of a 8-hour day of goofing off and searching the internet and doing all that crazy stuff, right? So I think this is why I say if I have a company, I really want to make sure they have good vacation time, and I don't want them to be spending most of their week at the office working. What kind of life is that? When you're spending more time at the office essentially than you are with your family and doing your hobbies. Even if you're let me get a calculator and just see what the calculation here is worth. So let's just say you're working 8 hours a day times 5. So that's 40-hour week. That's the typical work week, right? But let's see how many hours do we actually have in a week. So that's 20, and I'm not talking about sleep. So let's just say 24 hours minus 8 hours sleep, 16 hours we got. We have 16 hours in a day, and then times 7 days, right? 112 hours minus, let's just say 45 hours we're working at the office, because that includes commute time, let's say. 67 hours. So think about that. We spend 45 hours at our jobs and only 67 hours at home with our families, not sleeping. That's totally messed up. I think that's just horrible. It's hard. I get it. When I was in the military and I was in Iraq, I had to do 12-hour shifts, 7 days a week, no days off. But in general, in the civilian world, it's not so cool. But I'll tell you this, were those 12-hour shifts brutal? Yeah. Honestly, even in a military situation, it should be 7-hour intense shifts. Why? Because you'll get far more out of them. Imagine if we switch this, and instead of it being 45 hours and 67, it was like 30 hours and like 80. We would all be so much happier. And this is what we learned from our friends in Europe. They, as Tina said, they have a much better focus on living without over too much stress in your life. America has something to teach Europeans: work your ass off and make something happen. And don't be lazy. So I think Europeans are too lazy and Americans are too stressed because they work too hard. So I kind of bet, this is why I think travel is so important, because I kind of feel, I don't even think of myself as a 100% American anymore. I am patriotically, But I've learned so much from living in China. How could I not? Living in China for a year and a half, that's gonna change who I am. Living in Europe multiple times, that's gonna change who I am. It's why I crave travel, because I become a better version of myself. America doesn't have all the answers. China doesn't have all the answers. Europe doesn't have all the answers. South America doesn't have all the answers, but I can learn from any country I go to. That's why I get really pissed off when people talk about certain countries just, oh, I would never live there. That's a blah, blah, blah. Well, actually, if you say I would never live there, that's probably the very country you should probably go live in, because it's going to make you a more wide-eyed, open person, more open, more culturally attuned to what's going on. Thank you to the new people that were here. For a while, there was only one person watching for 10 minutes, but that's the key to YouTube live streaming. You just keep talking, baby, and if you talk, they will come. So thank you for the likes and for joining. And Slayer of Cheese, Violetta's here. Mr. Assassin has to go. Thank you so much. Love and Light said that on average, Americans are more successful than Europeans. You're right. Definition of success. I'm talking about improving the world, driving the world forward. Technology, science, electricity, space travel, the internet, things like that. Medicine. Are there great breakthroughs in other countries? Of course. Are there amazing scientists in other countries? Sure. Are there amazing groundbreaking tech companies in other countries? Sure. But anyone who says that the United States is not the leader in basically all of these fields is just making things up. So America is more successful in improving the world. Europe, I think, is more successful in improving the soul, if that makes some sense. And maybe that's why I love going to Europe so much. I just feel, you just look at these movies or anything of looking in Provence in France, looking out over those fields. It just relaxes you. Or looking in Tuscany, looking out over those vineyards. And it just makes you feel amazing. And I honestly, if we had the soul vibe of Europe, but the entrepreneurial chutzpah of America, I would probably want to go live in Europe full time. Ferrari says, my dad doesn't let me do YouTube. So guess what, Ferrari? Then you need to negotiate. Put on your negotiator hat. Be the CEO. And try to figure out a way. Maybe you can convince your dad to do a YouTube channel with you. I know a lot of fathers and sons do YouTube channels together. Or father-daughter. I don't know if you're a girl. But talk to your dad and say, can we do a YouTube channel together? And tell him that, hey, I'm talking to this guy. I watch this guy doing YouTube lives, and he's very close to start making money. Dad, maybe we can make money, and I can help you pay the mortgage. Just a suggestion. Jared should start posting. I agree. And yeah, Ferrari, don't say that to say, yeah, Jared, definitely listen to your dad. You don't want to upset your father, because then you could get blocked. You can get your phone and computer taken away from you. And you will never get to be a YouTuber until you move out. I would recommend trying to find a way to negotiate with your dad to do a YouTube channel with him, or a YouTube channel that he approves every video before it goes live. And I would disagree also with what Jar says. He says, look up channels that you want to be and copy them. Copying what someone else does is not going to make you successful. Maybe you can be inspired by them in some way. People keep telling me, Monroe, you should do this for your YouTube. I'm like, no. I am who I am. And they're like, you should pick one thing. You should either do the comedy, or you should do the music, or you should be the inspirational guy, or you should be the travel guy, or you should be the politics guy. But you can't be all of them. And my response is, yes, I can. Yes, I will. And yes, I'm going to be. And it's working now. Look, I got 10 likes here for me talking about travel stories. When I do my comedy ones, I get 20 to 30 likes. So maybe those are a little bit more popular. When I talk politics, I get sometimes 40, 50 likes. Awesome. When I do music, sometimes I get between 5 and 15 likes. Well, guess what? It means I've got an audience for every single thing I'm doing, and I'm doing it my way. And I'm proud of that, and I'm happy because remember, if you don't do what's authentically true to you, you're going to get bored eventually, and you're going to get burned out, and you're going to feel like a sellout. I'm upset that it's taken me 18 years. Not upset. I wish I had become a YouTube live streamer and more successful on YouTube earlier, but I'm proud that I stayed true to myself all these 18 years. And I'm not going to change that with doing the live streams. So many people keep telling me, dude, you got to do a sleep stream where they're watching you sleep. I'm sorry, that is just 100% creepy. I did watch one about a week ago, and I watched for about a 30 seconds of this guy sleeping. It freaked me out. And I lost great respect for this person, thinking, oh my gosh, that is what you're doing? Showing people how you sleep? If you want to do a sleep stream, go ahead and do it. I'm not going to watch it, but I won't judge you for it. But I will think, Ferrari or anybody else, you want to do something in life, be who you are. Don't copy somebody else. Stony the Bear says, we were not born to work. Beautifully said. We were not born to work, but that's what the American society, that's what society around the world has become. Where you're born to work. Not only you're born to work for somebody else, doing a job you hate, for a boss you hate, helping somebody else make their dreams come true. I can't do that. I every once in a while will go get a job somewhere, but most of the times I end up quitting because it's just like I am not paid well enough, and I'm not respected enough, and I don't have enough vacation. Getting out of here. Jer likes the work ethic, working 40 hours a week as a main job, then working 20 hours a week in the side business. Jer, there's nothing wrong with it if you love it. There's nothing wrong with it. I work more than 40 hours a week, but I'm doing my own stuff. And some people work 70 hours a week doing a job that they absolutely love. And that's fine. If that's what you love, that's great. But I'd say 95% of people do not love their jobs. Even if they sort of do love their jobs, they don't get enough vacation, they don't get enough time off, they don't get enough appreciation from their bosses, and they're not getting paid well enough to put up with all the baloney. And that's what we can learn from our friends in Europe. As he said, I feel like they nourish the soul more than they nourish the bank account. In the United States, it's all about the bank account. LeBron says, I look like a child of two. That is usually what a child is. A child is the result of two people, male and female, coming together and making a child. So yes, I guess I do look like the child of two. Jer says, I do believe we should keep the culture of side hustles. We should in general incorporate longer vacations and 30 hours a week. For those of you just joining, we're talking about my European travel stories, which of course ended up talking about work-life balance in those countries. Yeah, I like the culture of side hustles. I think the culture of side hustles is basically the American dream. It's like you're doing something on the side that's maybe going to take off. Right? This YouTube Live, 100% is me doing a side hustle right now. And it's me side hustling, making pretty much zero right now from it. But why? We got the American dream, and I hope that maybe in a few months I start to make $25 a month from YouTube live streaming, $50, $100, wherever it goes. But but I do think we should have longer vacations and 30-hour weeks. 100% agree. 100% agree. Yeah, it shouldn't be up to the employee to have to get 2 full-time jobs. But I agree, that's the thing. Most full-time jobs don't even pay you enough. A full-time job these days doesn't pay you enough to live. Inflation has gone up like this, and salaries have gone like this or even down. What's up, Tanya? Aiden, Jer, to be fair, YouTube was only around for 10 years. As I said, YouTube started in 2005. I've had a YouTube channel for 18 years. Live streams, I think, has been here for about 6 years. I don't know. You have to look and see when I did my first live stream. So I've been doing this a long time, ladies and gentlemen. Life is a challenge, says Casey Byrne. If you don't work as a practice, you won't be able to survive when work is required. Very good. But you have to, there's a quote from Benjamin Franklin, I find, or Thomas Jefferson, one of the two. I find the harder I work, the luckier I become. But the problem is too many people, I think, work very hard for somebody else, when I think they should be working very hard to become more independent and to make sure that they have lives outside of their business and, outside of the business for whom they work. And Casey, well, I guess I'm really behind, because it says, Casey Byrne says, I'm literally the only one watching this stream. No, now it's gone up to 3, it went up to 10, went down to 7. Sir Otto says, you're looking way over 30. I'm 46 years old, so good observation skills. Casey Byrne then says, go over to Europe. I absolutely look forward to going over to Europe as soon as I possibly can. So thank you for that advice. And Mark says, one of my friends since 1986 from England has always made me feel jealous because of their work-life balance. Always on holidays. He's 56 and retired, other than watching over his properties. Yeah, and that is the big problem, I think, with America, Mark. People have to work way into the... Think about this. Everyone's talking in the United States about how Social Security is going to be depleted by 2030 or something like that. And they're still on track for that. That's still a big problem. I'm thinking, well, maybe what we should do is try to help encourage people to become more independent and become more successful independently in the economy, rather than just putting money into this government trust fund, which is failing. People have no incentive to go out and become entrepreneurial success stories, because they have this government saying, don't worry, Social Security, you've been paying into it, we're going to take care of you. I don't want government to take care of me. When I have this quote, people say, I'm going to be rich. I'm going to retire rich, right? Meaning they're working hard to become rich, and then they're going to retire. No, I want to be rich long before I retire. And when I say rich, I just want to be independently able to pay for everything without having to work very hard anymore. Just manage it, like managing the properties. My mom and I have a real estate business now. We own two properties here in South Beach in Florida. We have a third one in Maine, but we're selling it. And we're probably going to buy maybe a third one here. But the point is, with every single property that gets purchased and then gets rented, that's more and more passive income for my mom. And she has to worry less and less about working in retirement. And Senior Journey says 46. Yep, 46. Jer says, how is being a landlord in Britain compared to the U.S.? Yeah, that's interesting. Mark says, I can't afford to retire unless I can eventually move to the Philippines and use the value of the dollar in my favor. So, Mark, yes and no. I know some people say that I'm being unrealistic when I say this, but I really sincerely believe it. I think everybody has the capability of creating a small entrepreneurial business on the side that can make you $2,000 to $3,000 a month. And if you do, guess what? You can basically live anywhere you want to in the world. I'm not saying that it's easy, but I'm saying that it is possible. There's something that you're really good at and that you're better than other people, that other people will pay you for. In another live stream, I told people to make a list of 30 businesses you could start. Doesn't matter if they're online, if they're in person, if you have the education for it, if you have the money for it, doesn't matter. Don't limit yourself. Put down a list of 30 companies you could possibly start that you think you would be the good CEO of. And guess what? Go from there. Maybe you'll come up with a company that will work well in a country you want to retire to. Maybe you'll come up with a company that ends up making you. Look, I started, it took me a long time, but I mean, I'm doing the YouTube live here now. I'm already making $22 a month from Patreon supporters. I make some money from Cash App when fans decide to send that over. I now have these live streams being uploaded to Spotify, soon to Apple Music. It's on iHeart Music starting in a few days. And once I get to a number of downloads per month, boom, I can start making money from the podcasts on Spotify and Apple Music and Apple Podcasts. And who knows where else this could lead. And Mark, and then you might be saying, oh, but I can't start a business. I can't do a YouTube. I can't do a podcast. I'm not asking you to. I'm asking you to make a list of 30 possible companies you could start. And Mark, I don't know how old you are, but I still think you're younger than the 66-year-old Colonel Sanders. That's how old he was when he created Kentucky Fried Chicken. So however old you are, you can still come up with something that can allow you to have a lot more freedom so you can go live in Europe. You can go live wherever you want to go. And by the way, living in the Philippines, I don't think would be such a bad thing. I'm potentially investigating looking at buying a property over there because it'd be so much more affordable. And I love different cultures. I'd learn to speak Tagalog. I'd be able to easily travel around Europe. Where there's a will, there's a way. Jared says, I believe Social Security should not exist. Yeah, I think the money you earn should go into what I wouldn't have a problem with is maybe saying, you must create an IRA, and your money must go into an IRA. Maybe that's a hybrid between the Social Security, and that way it's there. You're going to have to pay a 10% penalty perhaps if you bring it out early, if it's a traditional IRA. Actually, even if it is a Roth, if you pull it out before 55, then you get penalized. But at least it forces every American to invest in an IRA rather than taking the money out and forcing it into Social Security. Not cool. I agree with that, Chair. I honestly think a lot of college degrees are useless if you're not taking STEM, maybe economics. Besides that, you should get a trade. Yeah, the college degree has lost its luster dramatically. And the only ones that still make sense are, a law degree, because you need that to take the bar exam, going to pre-med, as we talked about, so you can become a doctor. But you don't need it for computer science. You don't need it to become a plumber. You don't need it to start a business. It's not as wonderful as it once was. And Mark, you used to make $400 from Google AdSense. Tell me what happened there. That's very interesting, Mark. Is that through your YouTube channel? Or is it from something else? Where did you make your Google AdSense business? And why did they shut it down, and why can't you start it up again? Most people don't understand Roth IRAs. We should force everyone to invest in it and teach about the stock market. 100%. I'm working on doing something like that through my company, Break Diving. It's a not-for-profit, and I'm trying to set up a relationship with a extension school like UCLA or University of Miami or something, so that I could offer a certificate in break diving, and that certificate would include learning about the stock market, learning about investing, learning about real estate, learning about travel, learning a foreign language, and learning about cross-cultural appreciation, learning history. And yeah, our colleges and universities don't teach people very well anymore. David Duncan, we need more economists going for Austrian economics in this Keynesian economic garbage we've been in for the last 70 years. We need to be out of Keynesian economics. Yeah, I'm a fan of Milton Friedman. Trickle-down economics does work. Obviously, it doesn't work as much as the left would like it to work, but where do all of the jobs come from? The jobs come from people who started businesses. That's why I don't understand. That's the easiest example I could tell you how trickle-down economics works. How many people does Amazon employ around the world? probably hundreds of thousands. Guess what? That happened. It trickled down from one guy starting a business, allowing it to grow, and he kept hiring more and more and more people, and more people got jobs. That's trickle down economics in a nutshell. So if you make it very difficult for Amazon to do business, they're going to fire people. That's why the minimum wage hike in California, which I think is now $20, is destroying the fast food industry there, because people are they're getting fired and getting relieved because these companies can't pay $20 an hour for somebody at a cashier at McDonald's. Trickle-down economics is a theory. I just told you what that is. There are hundreds of thousands of jobs in the world because Google was allowed to grow large. If Google was not allowed to grow large, it would not have gotten to where it is, and there would not be all of those employees. That's all trickle-down economics means, and it's valid. Oh, in terms of, it's not an economic term. I have a bachelor's in international economics. I agree with you. You're not going to find it as an official stamp, but the concept works. And it's basically the Adam Smith invisible hand theory of let the market do what it does, and it will end up leading to doing what's best. We should have controls. I'm not 100% free marketer. I don't think anybody is these days. I mean, I'm a member of the Screen Actors Guild. I'm a member of Actors Equity, and those are the unions to help protect the performing arts. The people who are actually the talent. But at the same time, I do think that trickle-down economics does explain why we should allow Adam Smith's invisible hand to have a lot more free reign in the economy. But I also think that a lot of capitalists here in the United States and elsewhere, but mostly in the United States, treat their employees terribly. They don't give them enough vacation. They don't give them enough vacation days. They get paid very low compared to the lavish lifestyles of the heads of the CEOs. I'm not saying that the frontline workers should need to get paid as much as the CEOs, but I do believe there's a discrepancy here, and I want to be a good-hearted CEO. When I've got my empire and I'm employing lots and lots of people, I want to make sure people I want people to like me and go home and say, I love my boss. I love where I work. They treat me with respect. How many people say that about their bosses and their places of work in the United States? Not many. I hate my boss. My manager stinks. My coworkers are horrible. I don't get paid enough. I'm not respected for, I don't get any applaud for all of the contributions I make to the company, and so on and so on. And meanwhile, the heads of the companies are becoming wealthy at the frontline workers' expense. I don't think it's cool. So Jer says, how would that work with 30-hour weeks and long vacations? There kind of has to be a government hand. No, well, I don't think the government should force it. I think the invisible hand should, let's just say I become as successful as Elon Musk or Bezos or Google, one of my companies. And I say, hey, everyone at my company is going to get 6 weeks paid vacation, 30-hour work weeks. You can work remotely 2 days a week from home, whatever. Everybody from all these other companies are going to quit those jobs to come work for my company. They are going to be fighting like crazy to come here. So then I believe through the invisible hand, they're no longer going to be competitive. These companies that are offering, that are saying you got to work 50 hours a week, no remote, and you only get 2 weeks vacation. Eventually, they're going to have to modify their human resources policies to catch up with us. And Why don't more people? But here, let me show this. If there were a free flow of employment from the United States to Europe and vice versa, and we didn't need to have work permits, if I could, 100%, I would start applying to jobs in Europe to go work there, because I think I would much rather live there, where I think your soul is nourished more than your work ethic is enslaved. And I think the invisible hand could do it, because I don't want to force companies to do it. I want other companies to be shamed that they treat their employees so poorly that they end up going out of business because nobody wants to work there anymore, rather than they go out of business because the government passed a new law that they can't sustain. Let me see. A lot of business owners lose money and make less than their employees. Yeah, not where I used to work, at this terrible immigration firm in Miami. Horrible. They were the definition of despots who treated their staff with absolute contempt and disrespect. They're going off on lavish first-class vacations every 2 weeks, and the employees are just stuck at the office working and have no vacation. So uncool. So there are those business owners that lose money and make less than their employees. Those are the ones we should applaud, and those are the ones who are leading the way. By the way, it's their, T-H-E-I-R. I don't want you to lose the argument that you make in life because you don't use the right there. David says Keynesian of printing your way into prosperity doesn't make you rich. I don't know why we're talking about printing your way into prosperity. No one here has we're not even talking about inflation. Inflation is horrible, and Biden has done a terrible job of that. Every president and Congress for the last 20 years has done a terrible job of it. So I can't blame Biden completely, but certainly went up dramatically under Joe Biden. Inflation has just skyrocketed. It's horrible. And I think the United States government, Congress, the House of Representatives, the Senate, and honestly, I wish the Supreme Court would deem that it's unconstitutional to not have a balanced budget and to prepare and to print money just like crazy. It's absolutely absurd, because we're on a house of glass cards. We're on a house of glass cards. Is that the question? We're on a house of cards right now, and any little breath we would blow. America is the leader in the world right now, but we've got to be very, very careful. AI weeds out the bugs of laissez-faire capitalism. Interesting. David says some policies of Adam Smith work, but not in every case. That was classical economics. Nothing works in reality as it is in theory. Communism, the left still thinks that communism works. It doesn't. And complete free market economy is a disaster as well. So I'm not advocating for either of them. We have to have a happy medium. I think the medium has moved too far to the left, though, in the last 50 years in the United States and certainly in Europe. Europe has been lurking to the left quite a bit. And it's definitely got far more left policies than the United States does. But the U.S. is catching up quickly. Jer says, I think maybe some government policies can persuade these companies to compete for longer vacations and 30-hour weeks. The issue is history has taught government can't do anything. You're right. There could be tax incentives saying, hey, here are the taxes here's the corporate tax rate. If you offer your employees 30-hour work weeks or less, then we will reduce your taxes by 25%. So there are certainly government incentives, but I think it should be government incentives, not government mandates. That's my personal thing, and maybe I'll change my opinion on that the more I do research on it. All I know is me personally, I really only need about, honestly, $150,000 a year, I can live pretty well. So if me making $150,000, $200,000 a year and by doing so, I can also give my employees 6 weeks vacation. Instead of making 300,000, let's do it. Businesses don't care about employ. 1/3 of the world is on mixed economics. Even China, it's not a capitalist country, we know, but it's also not a communist country 100% because financially they call it communism with Chinese characteristics. and that's what it is. I mean, that's why the Chinese government is doing okay. And the people are supporting the government because they've done a good job of allowing most people, not everyone, there's a lot of poverty there too, but most people are able to get good jobs and support their families very well, go on travel vacations and things like that. So, hey, B. Mongar, I'm from New York originally. I lived in Maine for a while during high school and middle school. And now I live in Florida. And in between, I've lived all around the world. Everywhere, pretty much. So David says, so that means we need to deregulate, get as much money in here as we can, become energy independent. I agree with being energy independent. I can't believe that Joe Biden depleted our strategic oil reserve as much as he did. That's there for when we have World War III, when we really need it, not to reduce prices because of inflation that was created by your presidential decisions. Really disappointed. So I'm really hoping Trump wins so that the strategic oil reserve will go back up and we become energy independent again. If things can be made better through technology, I think you need to get over your stigma of laissez-faire printing money. Who are you talking about, David? I'm not sure. I feel like maybe somebody's chat messages are not showing up in the chat because someone keeps talking about printing money, but I haven't talked about printing money really. Johnny Blaze. No, this is not Rocco. My name is Monroe Mann. Rocco Tribbiani might be coming on a live stream later today. Jer says, my family's from China and our apartment is kind of trashily. Definitely prefer the U.S. It also depends. I mean, I found I was able to live sort of, not like a king, but I lived very well in China as an English teacher, only making about $2,000 per month. But my apartment was about $500 a month, and it was really beautiful, I had a beautiful floor-to-ceiling windows looking out over the Suzhou River, but again, the key though is I was making an American salary, $2,000 US per month. Most people working class in China don't make $2,000 per month. This is what we were talking about before. You can live very well and you can retire well if you do have a US retirement, either Social Security or military pension or from your business, whatever. $2,000 a month, you can live in many countries across the globe and retire very, very nicely. And David says, you can make $150,000 a year, but with $1 since I've gone down. Yeah, this is my point. Like, you make $60,000 a year now, it's nothing. It's absolutely nothing. You make a six-figure salary now, you're basically making ends meet. You're living a normal lifestyle. You're not living in any great lap of luxury. And that's the problem, is that our salaries have not kept up. Our salaries have not kept up. And that's a shame. But that's why you need some capitalists to say, hey, I'm willing to offer more. And here's the other thing too. I think I would have to do research on this, but I don't know. I'm not trying to think. Would it be better for me to pay somebody $100,000 to have somebody full time and really devoted, or pay two people part time $40,000 a year? I don't know. That's a big entrepreneurial question. But I'm going to wrap up our discussion today. I mean, I started this talking about European travel stories, and then I ended up talking about the differences of living in Europe and living in the United States. There are pros and cons to both. As I mentioned, my dream life would be living 4 months in the US, 4 months in China, 4 months in Europe. And if I had to choose, it'd probably be an apartment in Paris, an apartment in Shanghai, and Actually, I'd like to have 4, an apartment in South Beach and an apartment in New York. That would cover everything. And we'll see. Maybe I'll get there. You never know. But what I will finish with is something motivational related to travel and all that. Remember the American dream. Wherever you are in life, dream big. Don't let other people drag you down. Find some hope. Find that silver lining of hope and believe that you can still do it. So whether it's finding an extra $500 a month somewhere, getting a new job, having the strength to quit, having the courage to start your own business, having the chutzpah to start your own YouTube live channel, and it does take chutzpah, and it is tough sometimes. And I want to quit many times because it can be debilitating at times. But that's the American dream. Go for it anyway. Keep going. I want you guys to be successful. Whatever that means to you, I want you to accomplish great things in life. Thank you for all the likes. I hope you'll subscribe to my channel. And I'll be back with different characters, comedy, music, inspiration, politics, and more. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day. Bye, guys.